Good evening. Good evening. Sorry for the delay. For some reason, everything logged out on this computer, so I had to redo everything. It was very annoying. But it is what it is. Jack Russo method says, I'm literally in bed about to get an early night in and this stream pops up. Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, I want to go to sleep too. I barely get any sleep, and then I'm like, I missed last week, so I felt bad enough to show up today. I'm not going to run long. It's just going to be a little bit, but yeah. Cool stuff to talk about anyway. What the fuck is Cred? I mean, he was on the Friday show. He's just skipping Monday shows. I'm going to have to bully him for that. But if you watch the last Friday show, or I think the one before that, you'll get to hear him. Anyway, before we start the show, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring it. Really appreciate their support. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. So yeah, Bitcoin's breaking out, looking good. We talked about this fake resistance last month and how we should have moved lower if it really wanted to reject us. Looking quite good now. But like where it starts looking really, really good, and ignore this is just a meme line, it's the all-time high. Where it starts looking really good is the weekly. We broke out of that prior range last week. Like that's a good chart. And then where it even looks even better, in my opinion, is the daily chart, where we broke all the resistances. And it was quite nice. It's the only support resistance that I had on the chart beyond like the 90K one. And it was quite a nice retest into move higher, right? So all time frames look decent. The monthly gonna close in a week, and if it does close anywhere close to where it is right now, that just looks like a consolidation. This is quite good before like a move up. On the weekly time frame, like I said, we broke out last week, and on the daily time frame, we broke out. I mean, in my opinion, the moment we reclaimed 90K, and we talked about this on the show, the trade was pretty clear, which was basically like be bullish unless we lose 90K. And that was quite tight in validation, quite a nice move, 90K to 110. Duck Bro, I fear we're going to double top. Possible, but I would say the same thing that I always will say, that I always said around these kind of like around the tops, and that is like, don't really assume that something is a false breakout until it actually proves itself to be a false breakout. I have seen too many people be bearish just because they expected a double top and then the market just ripped. And the same thing is true with bottoms, of course, right? Like if the market gives you an indication, if a market does this and gives you an indication that it wants to go up, trust it unless it comes back. And this is the same thing here. Like if you, and I'm not saying like you cannot take risk off and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to take like trade setups on the short side, I think it's the only reasonable thing to do is just basically have an invalidation on the long side. In this case, like below 100K would start looking really shit, and then you can start bear tarting, and then you can just be bullish until then. It's like in most cases, it's gonna do better. That support resistance is still red. Which one? Yeah, the monthly one. Yeah, I mean the monthly hasn't closed. Still possible. Unlikely that it closes below, but until the monthly is closed, this is a resistance, not a support. Did you see that hyperliquid degen? Yeah, but you gotta understand that there's so much psyops nowadays. There's big players in the market, and there's a bunch of cabals and a bunch of narrative crafters. I'd be very careful with caring about any of this stuff. But it's fun to watch. It's just, if that influences your decision making, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Like that's kind of how I think about it. But if you find edge in it, be my guest. But yeah, that's it basically on Bitcoin. Like all things good. It can obviously always turn around, and like I said, like I mean, we've seen this before, right? Like the double top guy in the comments, what he's afraid of is this, right? Where we had a high and then we nuked, we came all the way back up, and then the bear market set in. And I mean, it's valid concern. It's just like, I still remember this, and I mean, I'm sure like a lot of the people in chat have been around. When we ran this up, I was like, I'm bullish until proven otherwise, and it ran and ran and ran. And my invalidation was like, hey, I do not want to, like when we're trading in this range, I do not want to lose 60K. And the moment we lose 60K, it's kind of fucked. And then I flipped my positioning when we lost it. Instead of doing that early and then kind of like missing out on the run up, I was much better off just kind of like being like, okay, there's a good reason to be bearish now. You can see it better on the weekly time frame, and then you can be bearish or take risk off. So basically you see this, right? You have like the highs here. This is what I was looking at. I was like, this is pretty clear that was the range. We broke above it. We had a breakout. You really don't want to see that breakout get stuffed. And the moment we closed below 60K, I was like, okay, this is kind of fucked. And you can argue the same here, right? Where you're like, I don't necessarily think 104K, like this level, is good enough. But it'd be an early warning sign if we start losing it. And you can make comparison easier. And then a little bit of a better warning sign, I think, is around 100K, where we start getting into danger territory. And then if we start dipping down there, all bets are off, and then time to run, probably. But yeah, we'll see. What I've seen in the last few weeks is just a bunch of people really wanting to be bearish while the chart's bullish, and then justifying their bearishness with like macro stuff. And I mean, I get the whole macro concerns, but when you have a bullish chart, you have a bullish chart, right? Like I don't see the point in counter trading that, especially when it's this aggressively bullish in like with patterns that have played out very bullishly in the past. Like a range reclaim like this, I don't really see the point in being too bearish on it. So yeah. There's some outline how to kind of go about this. Like I said, a first warning sign, loss of 104K, and then a major warning sign, like you can go on the daily time frame, start losing 100K. That I think would be quite a major warning sign. Doesn't have to mean the top's in, just means that the rally failed and that momentum's gone, and then you can either range or go lower, which is obviously both not so great if you're trying to time the breakout. Excuse me. ETH, we talked about this. That worked out quite nicely, right? Like I outlined the trade idea, reclaim of 2K, target 2.7. That worked out quite nicely. Like we've talked about this for weeks and weeks. I still like it. I've seen a lot of people flip-flop on this. I still think this is quite decent. It gets really good above 2.7, but yeah, I don't hate it. This is like, I think you kind of don't want to lose down here, 2.2. I think if you go all the way down here, basically what I would fear would happen if we reject here is something like this. What I think will happen is we hold that 2.2, 2.3K area and then have another push up. But that does depend on Bitcoin holding up. And if this is the double top and the double top guy is right, that's probably not going to play out. But yeah, the ETH USD chart is quite good. ETH BTC chart, on the other hand, horrendous. I do like the urgency of this move, right? That is finally some power, and the retrace isn't really that strong yet, especially given the entire market's been weak besides Bitcoin. So I'm not hating too much on either of these. You have like a support in here. That would be nice to hold. If that holds, this really, really strong chart in the short time frames. It's just the high time frames kind of shit. But I do like these, right? Like for both longing and shorting, like you get a parabola and then it starts breaking. Oftentimes you get at least a second leg. Sometimes it fully trend reverses, but oftentimes when you get these parabola breaks, which pretty clearly happened, right? You get like a second leg and then either it dies because it's just shit or the trend reverses. So like I think that on the ETH side, I think it's more likely you get another push than not. But the trend's aggressively down. ETHUSD is at resistance, so gotta be a little bit careful. Don't get too excited, but I don't find it too bad. On the XRP front is one of my favorites. That's still ranging. It hit resistance last week and it's been kind of weak since, but this is still a pretty good chart. I'm really curious how this is gonna play out. It's basically very compressed. You have consolidation here, you have up move there. If this plays out like I would like it to, you would basically just have this be the chop where people get shaken out, and then you get one more leg, and that could take us to like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think, if you get another leg. It's basically what I'm aiming for with XRP. For the people that have been around a little bit, is a 2017 kind of style move. I basically, and obviously this is much smaller, but the market cap's also much bigger than it was. We had that big move, and then I still remember I basically missed this move here from like nothing to 0.1 ish, and I was trading other things basically, and then I went and bought in here where people were kind of like, oh yeah, it's over, and I think could do the same thing. Basically, you have one more push and then it's fucked. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. It doesn't have to happen, but the move does remind me, the move and the sentiment kind of reminds me of back then, where I was like, I think there's one more move in it. I did sell, like I bought like in the 0. something range, 0.2, I think even below 0.2, but I sold too early. Like I sold at like 1 and 1.5, some more. And then like it looks like if I'm like, hey, I sold 1.5 and I sold too early, but this is logarithmic scale, right? So like 1.5 and then it basically went to 3 immediately after. So a little bit early on that one. Probably going to do the same thing if this one rallies. Just because, I mean, you see what happens after, right? Like even if you sold at 0.7, there were times where you could have bought like much cheaper if you wanted to. But yeah, I kind of see like a comparison there, but it doesn't have to play out. XRP is always a risky bet because it's XRP. And then you have a bunch of other charts. Solana, same story here as with the other coins. Basically getting rejected by the first resistance. Look at ETH, rejected by the first major resistance. Solana here, same story. Didn't quite make it there, but you can also argue that this is the first resistance and that's why it's getting rejected. But it's not looking that bad. Like a lot of people are kind of quite bearish on this stuff. And I mean, I get why you'd be bearish fundamentally, but chart wise, it's just quite good. Like you have a range, you range a bunch, you go to the top of the range, you break the low and you come back. I mean, that's worth a shot. And we talked about this when it was trading at 120, 130. I was like, this is worth a shot. And that played out quite nicely. Like there was, we kind of talked about the trade idea of having a stop at the low, entry like here around 130, and then targeting just however high you want, like either this or just new highs. First target kind of hit, and now it's kind of like still doesn't look that bad. If I was a Sol fan, I'd be happy seeing that chart. Not sad, like that's not a bad chart. If it starts losing 130 again, it's a different story, right? And that can happen quite quickly. Don't get me wrong, like just because I'm like, these charts are not bad doesn't mean they cannot turn bad. It's just, they are not bad right now. Do you think XRP is weakening or just ranging? I mean, XRP is weak against Bitcoin, clearly. Like look at XRP BTC. Like that's not great. That's starting to bleed out. That's not great. Now, XRP is kind of famous for just like having shit price action, especially against Bitcoin, and then just putting in like 3 weeks where it just goes up like infinite. So like if you're just like focusing on the Bitcoin pair, if you're not really quick, you just miss out. I mean, I got quite lucky and got into that pump like quite low here on the Bitcoin side, on the USD side at 0.6 mostly. So I'm sitting pretty, but obviously like I took most of that Bitcoin rally, and I don't necessarily like because I think there's a good chance that this does the same thing that it did before. I don't want to miss it, so I'm just holding. But there's no argument to be made that it's been weak against Bitcoin for a little bit. It's down like 35% against Bitcoin. Now, obviously, when you go from the low, it's up still 220%, and it's a little bit laughable to speak about weakness. It just always depends on the time frame, right? Like you go on the monthly, that's a hilariously strong chart still. What people are afraid of, and I mean, fair enough, is these kind of moves. And XRP has done millions of those where it just bleeds out. I mean, every altcoin does. And now we're kind of in a situation where you have to decide whether this is kind of like a consolidation here, or if this is another famous XRP pattern. I cannot help you with that, but for now I'm still cautiously optimistic on that position. But I have the luxury to be like having a good entry and then just sitting pretty is underrated. And obviously, like all the common trading knowledge where it's like, oh, your entry doesn't matter, you just look, it still matters. Psychologically, there's a difference there, and it's quite nice being free of worry and doubt, more so than if you just completely ignore the entry that you have. Hey Don, just wanted to thank you. I follow you since the end of 2017, learned a lot from you and Cred, which made me a lot of money, even when the German tax government took most of it. Love to hear it, man. Paid some money to the good old government. Good man. Thanks, bought a bit later with you, but still up a lot. That's very nice to hear. Yeah, I think at the XRP trade, a lot of people made a lot of money with it. I was pretty adamant about it, and that was kind of nice because the Sol trade I missed. I liked the idea, but I was like, I like Bitcoin better. I just want to have Bitcoin right now. And then Solana ran. It was the one coin where it's like the one altcoin that makes sense to buy. That I always kind of like promoted but never bought. And it's nice to get one while Bitcoin was doing nothing that moved so aggressively. So quite happy with that XRP trade. But yeah, I want to see how this plays out. Generally, like that chart is really good, the USD pair. But then again, the Bitcoin chart kind of has been carrying this up, right? Like in comparison to the Bitcoin chart, you can see that it's lagging behind. So let's start. Someone asked about Dogecoin. I mean, not the bad, like not the worst looking chart. I just don't like Doge. But it's a little bit stronger than other altcoins right now. Seen a little bit of relative strength. Yes, and sorry, I guess I was one of the bastards that undercut your Doge trade at around 20 sats. Fucking hell, man. Good times, though. Good times. For the people that don't know, I was bidding literally here, and I was promoting it on crypto Twitter, and like an idiot. I mean, I was new to the whole, like new-ish. Was it here? I think it was actually, yeah. Yeah, it was down here. And I promoted on crypto Twitter and got some bids filled, but people started front running me. And that was literally the Pico low before this thing went to infinity. So technically speaking, I set the Pico low of all time publicly on Doge BTC. It's the lowest point it's been ever. I got the lowest fills, but, and it's a big but, I got I got barely any fills and it just ran and I giga-coped the entire way up. Doge still dependent on Elon and Tesla? I mean, a little bit, yeah. I think it's, Doge is a little bit like the S&P of memes, but it does have the whole Elon and Tesla history, which is not the best, I think. But yeah, maybe I'm wrong on that, and it's actually like good, and Elon's gonna gain back favor. You never know. If you have a different opinion on that, maybe it's a good trade. Like, it's not as weak as other coins, and technically speaking, you are stepping up, right? Like, that's not a bad shot. Like, I'm not hating on this. If this low breaks, it starts looking really shit. But unless it does, this is a good shot. Ish. Best on CT right now, in your opinion? I have no idea. I am barely on CT anymore. I have no time, no sleep, no nothing right now. What about Litecoin? Litecoin is still the same. It's a little bit boring, but it's holding for now. Like, that's the diagonal, and it's holding for now. Depending on how you draw this, we had a false breakout, and then you would look for a sell around 107, 110, right? So basically, if you draw the resistance, here, you're like, this is a false breakout, and now we're retesting it, and we're dead and possible. But I think the diagonal, as long as we close above the diagonal, there's no real immediate reason to panic. Check BTC ETH just to see the downtrend parabola inversed. Yeah, I mean, you can do that if it makes you happy. So, like, that's the parabola. I know it can obviously, like, it's not guaranteed, but that's a parabola. Very clear to see, and if you go in the lower time frames, you can argue that it broke. And the bounce so far, like, if you see this kind of chart, like a weak recovery after a nuke like this, after like it went parabolic, usually I would want to get out. Like, any bounce, I would want to get out. But inverse charts and all that kind of stuff, it's a little bit dangerous always. How's it going with the family? Decent. Cannot complain. I mean, it's more tiring than just having one child, but that is to be expected. Do you still see major memes, Pepe, Doge, Bonk outperforming another altcoins if mini alt season? It depends. If it's if it's an alt season where people look for, like, where more serious people get in, then no. Like, then you can see stuff like Aave and stuff, like decent stuff outperform. But if it's another bubble that is going to implode very soon, then yeah. And just generally, I think there's a good chance. I mean, we've seen these moves, like with, for example, look, went down infinite and is up now by like 200-300% from the lows. Very, very clear that there's still eyes on this stuff. So I wouldn't count them out yet, the memes, whichever you want to look at. But long term, it's a dangerous game to play. So if you're like I think if you're here for the money and you think this is all kind of fraudulent, then you want to play the meme game. And if you're here for at least have like a little bit of conviction that this thing is gonna do something, then you probably should search for something that actually has sticking power. If WIF goes to $2 where you said you'd sell, does it go even higher afterwards, since it would have reclaimed a lot of its down only PA by then? Probably. I bought it and set my sell orders, spread out a little bit, but around 2. So I'm just whatever. If it goes higher, it goes higher. I don't care. It was a meme buy anyway. It's not like this is significant money to me. Like I bought $1 because I found it hilarious how the biggest proponent that hated on me, which is Ansem, like I was shorting this thing and I got so much hate from the whole like Ansem crew and all the friends. Shorted this thing at $3, closed at around like 1 point, like somewhere down here, and got so much hate for it. So I was kind of like, it's hilarious. Like I made a bunch of money on the downswing. I'll just buy with a little bit at $1, and then it went basically immediately down from $1 to 0.3. So I was almost down everything, and now it's like back in profit. But this is a meme position. It's not a serious trade. So, I mean, I could pretend like I'm the greatest trader alive. I martingaled all the way down. Now I'm up 500x, and I'm like the next biggest trader, and I'm gonna be beyond rich on it. But that's not the truth. The truth is I bought it, and it went down to almost 0. Now it's back like 10, 11, 12%. And it's a meme play. Don't really care. Don, 1 minute you're not sleeping when your kids are babies, the next you're not sleeping when they're in bars with friends. You're lucky that you can be around to enjoy it all. It's true. Cannot really complain. But yeah, I think that's enough for me today. I really need to get some sleep. Appreciate you guys coming by. Next time it's going to be a little bit longer. I hope. Time's a rare commodity right now, but I'll try to make some. But yeah, I appreciate you guys coming by. Hope that this thing maintains the breakout. That'd be nice. Especially the daily looks really good, and I would like that to stick above 100k. It's kind of the most important part, and then we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thanks for coming by. Big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Like I said, their links are in the description, and yeah, we'll see each other or talk with each other, or you guys will listen to me. That sounds awful. Soon. Bye bye.